How's it going, everybody? Welcome in to another episode of the Mavs Step Back Podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Trigg. The Mavs, they take on the Portland Trailblazers tonight, just 48 hours removed from just completely destroying, and that's putting it nicely, completely destroying the Utah Jazz. 147 to 97 is their best defensive performance of the year, their best offensive performance of the year. Topping the 144 points they scored against the Clippers in early November. So the Mavs, they go for consecutive wins for what would be the first time since November 12th in Portland. And there's several key stats to keep an eye on tonight. And before we get started here, we're going to go ahead and make some betting picks for this game. For Mavs and Blazers. So for those of you who don't know, the Sleeper app, it is a great way to, make your NBA picks. If you're into daily fantasy sports, just get the Sleeper app and you can use our promo code STEPBACK, all one word, all capital letters, STEPBACK. Use promo code STEPBACK and get up to $100 matched on your first deposit. So definitely go do that. I mean, it's worth it, especially if you're already into daily fantasy sports. You might as well, go get the Sleeper app, make your picks, and get that up to $100 matched on your picks. So looking at some of the prop bets for tonight, Luka Doncic over under 31.5 points. Man, with the tear he's been on since coming back from being having his first child, he has been on an absolute tear, back-to-back triple doubles. The first one he had 36 points. This latest one he had 40 points, and he didn't even play in the fourth quarter. So look, if you're gonna take the under on Luka's 31.5 points, good luck to you. But I think it's pretty safe to say he's going to get the over for a third consecutive game, especially, since the Blazers are going to be shorthanded. They're already down Jeremy Grant. Malcolm Brogdon is questionable. DeAndre Ayton is doubtful for this one. So, there's really not going to be much resistance on Portland's side, similar to how there wasn't much resistance from Utah a few days ago. So Luka, I'm definitely taking the over on 31.5 points. You look at Derek Lively, his over-under for points is 8.5. Our guy Michael Mulford, he did a betting piece for DallasBasketball.com this morning, and he does this every game where he picks his top three betting picks, and he picked Luka for the over like I did. He's picking Derek Lively for the over on points, 8.5. I agree with that as well, especially with, Jeremy Grant already out, and it's looking like Ayton's going to be out too. So I agree with that one as well, taking the over on Derek Lively, 8.5 points. And then he also had Kyrie Irving with the over-under on turnovers is 1.5. And his reasoning for that, he put, Irving's averaging a career low 1.4 turnovers per game. And then in the last four games, Kyrie's only turned the ball over just 3 times. So that's a good pick there on the under, especially, again, considering how shorthanded the Trailblazers are. So should be another high-scoring affair for the Mavs, especially with Luka, Kyrie, and Tim Hardaway Jr. all healthy. And Derek Lively, throw him into the mix too. So I'm not sure if they're going to be able to have a repeat performance of a 50-point win, but, they should, if everything goes according to plan, be able to cover, that 7.5. They're favored by 7.5 points in Portland tonight. I feel like that's a pretty easy one for the Mavs to cover in this one. But we'll see. It's the NBA. You never know on a night-to-night basis, but the Mavs have a ton of momentum going their way. And another prop that I wanted to bring up is Derek Lively's over-under for rebounds is also 8.5. So I'm definitely going to go ahead and take the over. I know he's coming off a game where he only had 4 rebounds. But again, with the Blazers starting front court pretty much out for this one, like I said, Jeremy Grant's out already, and DeAndre Ayton is listed as doubtful. So they're both probably out. And I think Lively is just going to feast on the boards in this one. I think he's going to rebound from having just that 4 rebound game, and I think he's going to be well into the double digits in this one before the night's over. That is assuming this isn't a blowout by mid third quarter and then he doesn't play the rest of the game. But, we'll have to see. So, again, guys, if you think basketball, go get the Sleeper app. It's super easy to use. Just go find that Mavs Blazers game or any NBA game. There's a whole slate of NBA action going on this Friday, and go check it out. See what you think. There's several other, props that you can pick for Mavs Blazers, but those are ours. That's what we're going with for this one. So, guys, I wanted to come on here today and just kind of talk with you a little bit about some trade ideas we've had over at DallasBasketball.com over the last few days. The first one I had, because we know what the Mavs' biggest needs are. The Mavs need, I guess it's debatable, but in my opinion, the Mavs' 2 biggest needs are backup center, and they need another wing, preferably a big defensive wing, 3-and-D wing. Now, I know 3-and-D wings don't just grow on trees. It's easier said than done. It's not like they can just snap their fingers and get OG Anunoby on the roster, but that's the 2 biggest needs. That's the 2 pieces that, can really complete this thing for the Mavs and make them a true contender, in my opinion. So I posted a piece yesterday on DallasBasketball.com talking about the Detroit Pistons because, the Pistons are just, they're a mess, and they've been a mess for a long time. They didn't win a single game in November, went 0-15 in November. They're 2-19, worst team in the league. They have Marvin Bagley on the roster, and, it's crazy looking back that, DeAndre Ayton and Marvin Bagley were being debated with Luka Doncic in 2018. Like, oh, who's the better player? Who's going to have the better career between those 3? And, Luka wasted no time giving an answer to that question. But, both of those guys have gone on to their new situations. Bagley thought he would have a fresh start in Detroit. It hasn't really turned out that way. He's not playing very many minutes, even though he's averaging, 9 points and about 4 or 5 rebounds a game. So I feel like if he is going to truly, thrive in a secondary role like that and not have the pressure, similar to what he had coming out of the draft and what he had in Sacramento, it helps. It helps if you're in a winning situation and you're in that secondary role. And I feel like Bagley could really excel in Dallas as the backup big, the primary backup big to Lively. You look at Dante Exum. He had a ton of pressure on him in Utah. Now, I know Exum had a lot of injury history as well that kind of detracted his career. But, coming back into the NBA and having a lot less pressure because you're coming off the bench, you're a role player. And then your team is winning too. So, it's not like you're taking on all this less responsibility and you're losing. So, I look at Dante Exum as a success story in that similar type of situation. And I think it could be the same thing for Bagley if he ended up in Dallas. So, salary wise, Rashawn Holmes for Bagley works. That could work. The Mavs could add a 2nd round pick or 2 in there if they needed to. And honestly, I don't know if that's really, 1 2nd round pick. I could see that. I don't think it's as dire of a situation for the Mavs to warrant, giving up multiple draft capital in one trade for one backup center. So, Maxey, you could put Maxi Kleba in there with a 2nd round pick and it works as well. So that's what I'm looking at. The Detroit Pistons, they're probably going to make a move or two unless they're just insane, because they're obviously not going anywhere with where they're at right now. So I look at that, and then my guy Grant Afseth over at DallasBasketball.com, he posted a piece this morning, and he basically said the Mavs' biggest need is adding that other wing that I was talking about. So he views that as the top priority by far. More specifically, adding size on the perimeter. And the way he broke it down is, he had a dream target, which is OG Anunoby. I mentioned him a little bit earlier. Honestly, Anunoby would be the absolute perfect fit for this Mavs team. Derek Jones Jr., don't get me wrong, he's been amazing this year. He's a great value veteran minimum signing for the Mavs. He's been incredible. But if you can get Anunoby and have him as your starting three, and then you can either you can move Derek Jones to the bench, or maybe you could even play small and keep Derek Jones in the starting lineup with Anunoby and move Grant Williams to the bench. Either way, I think it helps the Mavs a ton. And I do agree that is the dream target for the Mavs as we get closer to the trade deadline over the next few months. He's averaging 15 points, 15 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and his defense is just incredible. So, and he could potentially be an unrestricted free agent this coming summer. So you kind of have to wonder, what is his value on the trade market going to be like for Toronto? They could potentially lose him for nothing, and other teams could potentially lose him for nothing. So you have to wonder how much a team would be willing to give up for Anunoby. So maybe that increases the Mavs' chances a little bit for making that dream a reality. Another one, Jeremy Grant. The Mavs playing the Trailblazers tonight. Grant's not playing, obviously, but and he's expensive. He's making over $30 million a year with this last contract. He signed a 5-year, $160 million deal over the summer. So he is expensive, but the Mavs do have salary matching pieces, and pieces that aren't really that vital to the Mavs keeping, in my opinion, that could make it work. It's just a matter of, do you want to tie up that much money into one guy going forward? Because if you do that, you're pretty much locked into a core, a 3-player core of Luka, Kyrie, and Jeremy Grant. And obviously you have Derek Lively, who's going to be an amazing player for the next several years on a rookie contract. But, your big salary guys, you're locked into those big 3 of Luka, Kyrie, and Jeremy Grant. Do you want to do that? Is it worth it? I don't know. That's for Nico Harrison to decide. But I do know the type of player Grant is. I think he would fit well with the Mavs. It's just a money situation. Does it work? Is it going to put them in a bind trying to build a team around those other guys going forward? So we'll have to see if there's any interest there when it gets there. I don't think Grant can be traded until January 15th since he signed that extension. So, that's something to look out for. Another option mentioned here, realistic, and it's familiar, according to my guy Grant Afseth, is Dorian Finney-Smith, the Brooklyn Nets. Our guy Isaac Bourne wrote about this the other day as well. The Mavs have been linked to Finney-Smith as having registered interest in trading to get him back. I love this idea. I really do. I love this idea. There's familiarity. Finney-Smith was a huge part of the Mavs 2022 Western Conference Finals run. Has a lot of chemistry with Luka Doncic. The Mavs offense obviously hasn't skipped a beat with Josh Green being out here lately. So that's kind of the swap I look at there if something was to happen, because obviously the Mavs don't want to give up a first-round pick, and I'm sure the Nets would like to get one for Dorian Finney-Smith. But maybe instead of draft compensation, the Nets would look to add a younger wing in Josh Green that's 7 years younger than Finney-Smith, and maybe like a second-round pick or something, because Finney-Smith is still playing at a high level. And I just think the way he plays and the way his game has matured and that experience he brings, I think it would be a vital finishing piece for this roster. So that's one I'm looking at, as we get closer to the trade deadline through the next couple of months. So, guys, look, that's all I wanted to come on here and talk about real quick today. That plus give all the the betting picks for Mavs Blazers. If everything goes according to plan, the Mavs should be able to get their second consecutive win in Portland, and then they have another couple of days off until they go play Memphis. This time with Luka. They were missing Luka the last time, so. I will be back on here sometime on Saturday to give a quick recap of what happens in this Mavs Blazers game. But until then, you guys have a great rest of your Friday. Be sure to go like, rate, and subscribe on all your favorite podcast platforms and hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. We are approaching 15,000 subscribers, and I'm hoping we get there before the end of December. We're like 250 something away, I think, from getting there. So I appreciate it, y'all. Y'all have a great one. We'll see you next time.